see if we can get him back. Hey, if you've got this part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks. It's Thursday night, March 5th, 2020. If you're listening any other time than 8 p.m. on the dot, almost, we're close. In the Central Time Zone. It means you got the recorded version, and that's okay. Hang tight. We're trying to get our guest in. Jay's coming in. Jay Matson's coming in. He was having some audio trouble earlier, and so he is behind the scenes, hopefully trying to get it fixed. We'll, Mike, while we're waiting for Jay, we'll do some beer, and I have a cigar update, so we'll do that while we're waiting for Jay. He may interrupt us at any point. I'm finishing up my brunette, the Nut Brown Ale from Nebraska Brewing Company.
All right.
So had that a couple weeks ago. I got a couple left. Remember, Nebraska Brewing's got that unique can that's in there. Super delightful. What you got anything on tap for tonight?
Well, I was going to make a Moscow Mule, but we actually ran out of ginger beer last night, and I forgot to go pick some up. So made from the freshest of Rocky Mountain water, the Coors Light is the beer of choice tonight.
Okay, you'd be proud of me.
Yeah?
So I'm at Blue Sushi the other night with a buddy, Tuesday night, and they're like, hey, it was taking a long time to get the sushi out. And she kept buying it, come and apologize. I'm like, it's fine. Can you just bring me a beer? And I was like, what do you got? And she's like, we got Stella, and started naming a few. And then she said Bud Light. And I said, you know what? I'll have a Bud Light.
You went Bud Light.
I went Bud Light. Yeah.
And don't tell me you enjoyed it.
It was good.
See? That's what I told you.
But it was
not bad.
Draft. It was draft.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. If you're gonna do Bud Light or any of those, even Coors Draft is pretty good in a keg. Like you get it in a keg.
Yeah, I like Coors more than I like Bud Light. Yeah. I don't know why I don't get it more. We were celebrating with some friends this weekend, and we did Moscow Mules, and then all of us like Coors Light if we're gonna have beer. So that's what we did. We had the Coors, or started with Moscows and had some Coors. That's what I had left over.
Nice.
I love Moscow Mules.
Yeah, they're so great.
My wife, Hannah, loves them too.
We always keep a 4-pack Cock and Bull ginger beer in the fridge. So there's always at least a 4-pack. Most of the time there's 2 4-packs. Yeah. Because this time of year and as we get into summer, they get real popular here at the Coliseum House.
And I've even noticed, like, because we tested, because we always do the lime with them, right? We do Tito's vodka, ginger beer, and lime. And we tried it without the lime because sometimes, the lime's kind of the hard part. You don't have them. They went bad or whatever. Yeah. It wasn't too much of a difference not doing lime.
No, lime's, it's more of a look, I think.
Yeah,
than it is
I think so too.
Flavor. Depending on the ginger beer too, right? The ginger beer can be really, really strong.
I don't know what flavor we were using or what brand we were using.
Yeah, here in Nebraska, Cock and Bull is very, very popular.
That's probably what it was. This was it was just orange. The generic stuff from Hy-Vee, brown in color, very kind of a tan, brownish can. But ours came in a 6-pack, so maybe it's a little bit different.
Jay's internet just went out. Not that I can't understand that. Bravo. So it's like he's going to come in a second before he gets here. So I'm part of the Two Guys Cigar and the Cigar Authority. That's the one that Ed Sullivan produces.
Yeah.
So I'm part of their they call it the, gosh darn it. Hold on. It'll come to me in just a second here. I can't believe I can't remember this. Their care package. That's what it's called. Care package, $30 a month, gets you 5 in a bag like this, which is pretty sweet. I don't know any of them. They give you a little list and some extra deals on it as well.
It's a nice little bag too that comes with it every time.
Right on. Yeah, they come in little bag here that you get. This is my second order of them, and then on the Cigar Authority podcast, they smoke them and talk about them, which is super cool. So you can go along. So they show up, and then through the course of the month, they're like, "Hey, today we're smoking this." And so pretty cool. $30, super, like, it's a really great way to try a bunch of different. I'm kind of at that point now where I'm ready to kind of try a bunch of different cigars. So those came in as well.
and I have limited myself. I said, the only time I have cigars is with Jim, because my addictive personality. It would not be good for me to have them any other time except when I'm with Jim. So any ones I've tried,
and
know what I've tried because
I've
been no, she's. I know you're still under that impression. I swear it's not. But yeah, so I the ones I've tried because I've only ever smoked a cigar with you.
Yeah, but
we're heading out to San Diego for a bachelor party, so I'm guessing that trend might change next weekend.
Yeah, well, that's a special dispensation,
special occasion, right?
You get in that. So so that's and then it's been interesting to stay up on that podcast. All right, Jay is back with us. Let's see if we can get his audio working. Say something for me, Jay.
Maybe he can't hear us yet.
Probably can't hear us just yet. Maybe working on that. He'll get it here eventually. We'll no, Mike, I know Hannah's solidly blocking me. She's like, if we can just keep Collison away.
She is not. I promise you that's not happening.
Yeah. Jake, say something.
Hello.
Yeah,
there we go.
There it is. Hey guys.
No worries. No worries. Listen, 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were trying to do a show with 2 other guys, and my internet just was limping along at like 1 up, and we couldn't get anything. I mean, they were working, but I wasn't. So no worries on that. Everything's good on your end.
Everything should be good now. Good. Hopefully you guys can hear me loud and clear. Yeah. And we don't have any more hiccups.
Yeah, no worries. We'll give it a second to settle in. Mike, I think we're going to change our audio back. Do you have audio processing disabled?
Yeah, do you want me to enable it?
Yeah, go ahead and enable it or uncheck it.
Check it.
Uncheck it till that way we let StreamYard do that.
Do the balancing.
It does do a better job of balancing the audio.
It does, I noticed that.
In your settings on StreamYard, if you go down to settings, it's probably checked, or maybe it's
probably unchecked.
Audio processing.
Yeah, you want it unchecked.
Leave it unchecked.
Okay.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Yeah, good. So no worries. We got through our beer and cigars while we were having
stuff.
Yeah. Do you have something to drink, or are you a beer guy at all, or do you?
I might, but I have to work out later, so I'm just gonna.
Yeah. Well,
I'll catch it.
So you're one of those disciplined guys.
Well, beach season approaches.
Oh, there you go.
You got to tune it up a little bit. Keep it tight.
Keep it tight.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, but I'm still gonna drink it.
I had a fun winter full of lots of cookies and food and all that.
Girl Scout cookies this time of year. It's Girl Scout cookie time. They are evil.
I know. Jim,
how does this mic sound to you guys, by the way?
Yeah, good. It could come up just a smidge. Let's if you can on that one. Yeah, let's try that. And then, hey, do me a favor. In the show notes, the second link that you had for the PC and laptop, it was the same one as the headset review. Could you? Would you swap that for me? No, it's just a copy and paste.
Sorry about that.
Thing. No,
your audio sounds really clear. Do you have control over the volume at all?
Yes, I should.
You could go a little higher, I think. Jim, do you agree?
I think so.
Let me see if I can.
It's probably fine on the output though, because the StreamYard will bring lows up and highs down.
Let's see.
I know, Jim. The hard part about podcasting is I see my face every Thursday on the show. I'm like, oh, the winter has built up the squirrel cheeks a little bit over the winter. When you see yourself on a weekly basis, like, oh man, I go back and I'll watch shows from like the before winter. I'm like, oh man, I was nice and skinny, and now I got the squirrel cheeks coming back. Gotta get those gone.
I did that stair. I climbed that vertical mile, and so I've been working out since October to get ready for that. So I actually lost weight during the winter, which was good. I dropped 5 or 10 over the course of the winter. The challenge has been, that was 2 weeks ago. And now I keep saying, okay, I just climbed a vertical mile. Well, that was like 3 weeks ago, Jim. You can't just keep using that excuse and eating, 25 wings at a time.
Yeah.
This is maxed out, guys. So
that's good.
You're good.
Sorry if it's
nope. You're good now.
I'll try and talk louder.
No, you're good.
No, you're fine. Yeah, you're fine. Be natural. Okay, let's see. Did you swap that? Oh no. So in
I messed it up.
You did the wrong one. That's okay. We got you totally distracted. So
it's been a long week.
Oh, sorry about that. You can relax. We'll take care of you here. You're in good hands. You're in good hands here, so you don't have to worry about it.
Perfect.
At all.
There we go.
I think, and we're a few minutes after the hour, so I think we're just going to jump in. I've got an intro to do. You've done this before, so I've got an intro to do. We got to thank Icy Doc for some stuff, and then we'll get you in here and get your 2 reviews in, and then I've got a bunch. Last week, I have a bunch of just random things to talk about. Love to have you kind of chime in on some of those things too.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. Also, I added a bunch of stuff. Anything you do or don't want to talk about, we can cover whatever you'd like. I'm not like dying to cover one specific thing there. Yeah. But so yeah, whatever you'd like. Yeah. No, we will go. Yeah, we'll just keep talking. Cool. Just it's a good time. Okay. Let me get over here. That looks okay. I think we're live on Spreaker. Thanks if you're in the live audience. Thanks for coming out tonight, and we're just kind of we're 10 minutes late, but thanks for hanging tight. Appreciate it. Let me get started. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 435, recorded on March 5th, 2020. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. Mike, it was so good. Well, it's a little windy today, but pretty great last 2 days, right? I mean, spring.
Gorgeous. And this weekend, we're supposed to be in the 70s. I think it's just beautiful here.
Jay, you're in where are you located?
Yeah.
Philly?
Yeah, you were right on. Philadelphia, okay. Yep.
Yeah, you're in Philly, and maybe that warm weather hasn't quite got to you yet, but it's coming.
We've been mid 50s, low 60s, so it's been warmer for sure. Really nice, sunny. So it's getting there, but it's been nice this week. Surprisingly, it's been
nice. No, I think we're in for an early spring. By the way, I watch all these YouTubers, and when they say degrees in Fahrenheit, they always put the Celsius. I'm not going to do that. So Google can figure that out. If you're in a place where there's Celsius, I'm not Fahrenheit bias or anything. It's just what we do here in the U.S. Okay,
absolutely.
So, anyways, we post the show, and there's going to be some really good show notes tonight. So you want to head out to theaverageguy.tv, and then this one is /HGG435 if you want to get right to the show notes. Also want to let you know the easiest way to join us live is on our mobile app, and we want to thank our Patreon subscribers who kind of make that available for us as well. Head out to homegadgetgeeks.com, iPhone, Android. You can download it. Best way to do it on the road is stream it. It is streaming only, which for some of you may be okay. And so you can get it at homegadgetgeeks.com. Big thanks to Kevin Schoonover from last week. Every time Kevin's on here, and I think Jay's gonna have the same effect, but every time Kevin is on here, I start spending money, Mike. I don't know, this week we're gonna talk about it at the end of the show. I bought a bunch of stuff this week. I don't know, but big thanks to Kevin. Did you pick up anything this week, Mike?
Oh man, it's taking everything I have to not pull the trigger on that switch that he brought up with the 4 10 gigabit ports on it. For $69, I just never seen anything like that for powered for PoE managed. It was so I'm this close, but then but the good part is he warned me about looking at the 10 gig cards and the cables I would need to run. And I'm like, okay, it gets pretty expensive pretty fast if you want to switch over to 10 gigabit. All I want is my Unraid server and my main machine here to be connected. So I'll probably just do a direct connect instead of getting the switch, save a little bit of money. But then he got me thinking about 2.5 gigabits. So yes, I'm going to be spending money. I just haven't yet. And he was ahead of the times. He was talking about 2.5 gigabit. I linked in the Discord a video that Linus Tech Tips did on 2.5 gigabit. They actually did a follow-up video that was released today on 2.5 gigabit in the home. I swear, they were listening to Kevin last week and thought, hey, yeah, that's a good idea for a video. And so Linus is obviously watching the show, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. No, Jay, have you internally, last week we talked about gigabit in, right, from an internet speed. Right. But then we talked about 2.5 and 10 gig behind. Are you into that at all? Or are you thinking about speeding up your internal network?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the debate I have internally here. Right now, because I'm in an apartment, everything is wireless. So it's, limited returns for that sort of speed. But, and I have Comcast, which is always a nightmare trying to get fast speeds from. So I'm at I think I'm actually getting around 250 down, 10 up, which is terrible. Yeah. But in the future when I move. Yeah. So, I mean, I would love to move, get faster in, and then I want to do for sure when I buy a house, which is something that I'm thinking about doing in the next year or so, whole house wired with everything, and go that route. But for now, I'm struggling in an apartment and just doing what I can.
Well, you got to do what you can. It's all right. There's no networking shame in any of that. I'm kind of a mix. I'm a mix of wired and wireless. Just kind of depends on what I need and what's the right way to do it. Anyways, big thanks to Kevin. At the end of the show, I will mention that at the end of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about, so hang tight, this box behind me and this box above me, this old Windows 7 launch party. There's a reason we got that back. So stay till the end. Got a few things to talk about that. A new Philips Hue bridge came in. I'm going to allude to that. We're going to talk about that here in a week or two. So just hang tight on that one. I broke a power switch on this computer that's behind me. One of these. Well, yeah, I guess you can see right there. A little harder to replace than you think. So we'll talk about that here at the end of the show. Jay, you may be able to give me some advice on that the next time. And then, of course, Kevin had me. I bought this. Well, I did buy this. So this the LSI. We'll talk about that at the end. And we should a shout out to Icy Doc. So last week we had you guys go on Twitter and say, "Hey, at Icy Doc USA, you should pay attention." And many of you did. Now, if you're listening to this a week or two or three after the fact, still do this. We want you to go out this week. So Vincent from Icy Doc got a hold of me and said, "Hey, let's talk about this," which was awesome. And so they are sending over one of their turbo. I should know this really quick. I think I wrote this down somewhere. They're sending over a turbo swap. It's an MB171SP-B because Icy Doc can't come up with good model numbers, right? But the short version is turbo swap. Jay, you know this. You do a lot of hardware, right? Some of these hardware companies come up with some crazy names, right? For their
hardware and
models.
Cars. That's where you see the wildest names, for sure.
Yeah,
they could have just called it like the Turbo 2, but no, let's give it 42 letters and names after that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, turbo swap is what's coming. It's basically just a single drive that'll go. It's going to replace the DVD that's in here. I don't think we need DVDs anymore. There's a story behind that as well. It's here at the end of the show. And they're going to send it over for a review, bring that in. I'm going to actually put that in one of our mining rigs and get that working off some hard drive mining. So stay tuned. We want to thank Icy Doc for that as well. You can still tweet at them. So here's what I want you to do: go out at Icy Doc, say thanks. Just appreciate the work that they're going to do. We're going to kind of feature them through the month of March here on Home Gadget Geeks and just kind of work with them. Many of you, and let me show you this just really quick, because Gavin Campbell, who's been a longtime listener for the show, he put out, let me get the Twitter window open. I think we'll be all right to do that. So I asked you to send me some pictures, and he had gotten a multi-bay drive that is a 6 by 2.5 inch, and he's got those full of SSD drives in his box. Yep. And so he posted that to me. He said, it's not the best pick, but I have it in my Unraid server, thanks to Mike.
Yes.
Couple drives are configured for the cache. The others are running VMs and Dockers on them. Had a small spinner in there as well, but it recently died. So Kevin, thanks for, Gavin, thanks for doing that. I didn't get too many other pictures, but these were all the tweets that we got kind of based on that little tweet storm over to Icy Doc. And so let's do that again this week. Go out there, jump in at Icy Doc USA is who you want to kind of point your tweets to. And Jay's going to talk about some great hardware tonight as too. You want to as well. If you're not already following Jay Madison, Jay, what's on Twitter? What's your everything tech, right?
At Tech Everything still. So
Everything.
Website Tech Everything. Everything is at Tech Everything because that's a long name that no one else wanted. So luckily I was able to lock that up. So
you got it.
TEK Everything, easy to find there.
And I have I tweeted out earlier the show, and his Twitter handle is there as well. You want to follow him, follow what he's doing on YouTube. Got lots of great videos. That's where I found Jay as I was going through all these hardware videos, and there you were doing those as well. Hey, let's spend a second. We had you way back, I think summer or spring of last year.
Yep.
Anything, you were just moving into the apartment. I was super impressed that you moved all that gear in. Any big changes since you've moved in your hardware?
Big changes. There haven't been big changes to the room, the actual office, but hardware wise, my computers, I've switched to a new case, which we'll probably talk about in a second there. Some upgrades to audio. That's probably the biggest change. I've kind of overhauled my desktop audio setup. I think everything else is pretty much straightforward there. So yeah, more just like a little minor changes. The space has been serving me well. I'm loving it. It's a great room. I just love it.
Cool. Good to have you back. Let's jump in. I'm going to open up one of your posts here, and let's throw that in. I'm pointing at the wrong thing. Of course, I'm pointing at the wrong thing. Let's stop that and bring it up. Talk a little bit while I'm pulling this up. Talk a little bit about your YouTube channel. In the last year, what do you focus on? What do you like to review? Any favorite companies? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, so I typically like to stick to mini ITX PC builds. That's my wheelhouse. That's why I kind of started the channel, to cover a lot of those small cases, really compact cases that a lot of people just weren't covering, that just didn't really get a lot of play. So I like to do that a lot. I also do audio. I cover headphones. I'm starting to do amps. I do more written for that than I do videos, because usually my audience, they're like, hey, we don't want to see that because you've been doing PC builds for 3 years. But I do cover that stuff as well. I do love audio. I do a little bit of home theater here and there, but very rarely. It's primarily just the PC and audio stuff. Yeah.
Anything being a YouTuber, I mean, it's a super interesting space right now to be on YouTube. You just mentioned one of the things that drives me nuts. Like, it's your YouTube channel, and I know you have watchers, right? And then you go to change the subject a little bit, and they almost come back like, hey, we don't want that crap. We want this, right? I mean, you get some of that kind of feedback, right? How do you, in this case, did you kind of give in and say, oh, okay, I'll do something different, or how'd you handle it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not the kind of person who says, well, I've been doing this, I have to keep doing this. But I do think at this point, as people have started to follow and they're expecting a certain thing, I should at least give them most of that. It's reward them for their loyalty to the channel. And I still love mini ITX PCs. It's not something I'm ever going to stop covering. I don't think so. But I'm going to try and sprinkle in more things as we move forward. But I want to keep the people who support me, who give me likes and really love the content. I want to give them an outlet to kind of come see the stuff that they want to see. And also, I still love doing it. So it hasn't really been that big of an issue. It's not a situation where I'm like, hey, I hate this now, and I really want to do something else. I could always just start another channel, so I'll keep it in that sort of wheelhouse. I'm not going to worry too much about it. And if I get tired of it, then I'll make one of those I'm tired of this videos and just do whatever I want after that.
I was watching a YouTuber. I watched this guy. I think he's called Handyman, Handee, man, Handyman. And he's building this home down in the desert of Arizona. And so he's doing, a lot of construction and ICF wall builds and all this, and it's just, I'm never going to do it, but it's interesting. So he had someone just show up on his property the other day. He was out building, and somebody just drove up onto his property and was like, hey, I'm a YouTube, I'm one of your, I'm one of your, your watchers, your followers. And he put out a video on this. He was like, look, I'm on YouTube. Don't come to my property. Like, I don't want to see you. Like, one of those kinds of things. And it can be difficult, right? As you think about, you're putting yourself out there, you've built an audience, they respond. And I'm sure, do you leave your comments open or do you moderate?
Oh, wide open. I love it. It's the Wild West. I love the good. I love the bad. Just give it all to me. I read it. I interact with people. I interact with the trolls sometimes. Like it doesn't bother me if you have a positive or negative comment. It's all the same to me. So I enjoy that sort of thing.
I moderate my comments. Like, I leave them. They have to be for review, right? They don't get posted until I review them. Do you think that YouTube penalizes me for
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think it's probably smart. And if you look at the bigger channels, most of them moderate because it gets out of hand. I'm still small enough relatively that I can do that. I can kind of review them manually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think there's a penalty for that.
How many followers do you have now on YouTube?
I think 52-ish around there, 52,000, something like that.
Yeah, that's a good number. Yeah, that's good enough to get out of hand.
Yeah, right. Some of the bigger videos. I mean, I had one video I did a couple months back where I reviewed a case that was similar to another case, and people were getting like up in arms and saying they were copying it. And how could you do this? I didn't make the case, guys. It was sent to me for review. Like, so it's just you just kind of have to roll with it. People are gonna so to speak. So.
I love. Let's talk about cases since this is your bread and butter.
Beauty.
Yeah, the Laser 3D LZ7 XDT Mini.
Another mouthful.
When you approach reviews, do you try to be methodical about the way you do each one of these cases? I mean, if I was going to come over to your site and kind of look at them, would they all be very similar?
Yeah, so particularly with the cases, because that's probably, if I look back, the thing I've covered the most, ITX cases. So it tends to be very similar in terms of what I cover. So I can go back now from 2 years ago to smaller cases, bigger cases, and make like temperature comparisons, sound comparisons. I'm running the same tests using the same equipment. So yeah, I do try to be very consistent with the way I cover them. Yep.
And what do you, when you're doing a build like this or you're reviewing a box, what are the things you really look for and that you really like to see in a box?
Yeah. So I think for one, if it's ITX, I look for the best efficiency when it comes to the use of space. So how are you using the liters that you have available to you in this case? So for example, the XTD here is one of the best uses of space that there is out there. There are a lot of ITX cases, there are tower cases, there are really compact cases. They work to varying levels of effectiveness because of the way that the components are positioned. So this is by far one of the more unique ones, this XTD here, simply because it allows you to fit pretty much everything you could in a normal tower ITX case, but including a tower cooler or a half tower cooler, but in a very compact 10-liter case, which is rare. I don't think there's another case out there that can do specifically what this one does.
This may be one you want to come to the video for. We're showing a picture kind of your table layout. That's not, I mean, besides the board, that's not small gear that you're putting in there, right? Full size GPU, full size CPU cooler, I would assume in some regard. What else is on? What's the fan over to what's that over to the right?
So it accommodates an 140 or 120 millimeter fan. So that's a 140 millimeter fan there. That's the intake. So that pushes air directly over the motherboard, which allows everything to stay super cool, which is rare for a case that's this small. And having coolers up to, I believe it was 135 millimeters, which is most mid-height, full-height coolers. You can get very creative with the coolers that you put in there, where most cases have like a 70 millimeter limit, etc. Like the cooler you see on the right there under my arm is a 70 millimeter cooler, and that's previously probably one of the better ones that you could fit in most ITX cases. But now this case allows you to go a little crazier. So
power supply is where?
I'm sorry.
Where's the power supply?
The power supply you can see on this. Yeah, you see that there?
The bottom right-hand corner there in this picture? Yeah. Okay.
I don't think I have a picture of the top open, but if you watch the video, if anyone wants to see how it actually looks internally, I have a picture of what it looks like with everything obviously set up. I do a full time-lapse build of it. But yeah, that takes SFX power supplies, normal. It also has support for 2 SSDs or 2 2.5-inch drives of your choice. And then obviously full-length dual slot GPUs. So you can get super powerful systems. I've got a 9900K at 5 gigs in there, and it runs. Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. Honestly, it's actually quite amazing.
It's gonna be like one of the best mobile editing rigs, right? Like if you were going to like a big conference and you're a YouTuber and you need to pack up a computer that you can go back to the hotel room and edit on.
Yep.
I mean, that's a beast of a computer. That's better than most people's, full desktops that they have in a small form factor.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is a beast, and it's laser cut acrylic, so it's not metal. So it is very light. If that was something you wanted to do, you could certainly do it. There's a smaller version of this as well, which was the case I was using prior to this one. It's just the lasered LZ7, not the XTD. And that had similar properties, but it only had support for half-length graphics cards. So this is kind of the big brother of that. It's just a really cool case. Now, not cheap. Definitely similar to other ITX offerings, it's fairly expensive, but that's what you get with limited run cases like this.
Acoustics pretty good on this?
Yeah, acoustics are surprisingly good. So the side intake allows you to run the fans at reasonable levels. If you're doing like renders while overclocking, the fans are going to spin up on the CPU cooler, but it's nothing that you wouldn't expect there.
Right.
The decibel levels there, you're 45, it's totally reasonable. I have no issues.
On your site and on this post, you talk about you got the system noise listed there as well as temps that are in there. So folks want to know, do you have a favorite? So you have a motherboard that you go to for these mini ITX builds. Is there a certain brand or a certain motherboard you like to put in here? Well, some that are better than others?
I would say for ITX, if you're going Intel or AMD, ASRock is probably the go-to for me right now, simply because of the way they handle cooling of the chipsets and various components on the board. I think they do an excellent job. They use actual heat sinks that pull heat away as opposed to just pieces for show that you see on a lot of other shiny, beautiful motherboards. The Asus stuff is pretty good too, but I would say that's second place. They've got a really strong bias, and I like the features of the boards, but they get a little cartoonish sometimes with the way that they're laid out and the visuals of it for me. So I think the ASRock boards are really killing it, and they seem to be really strong across the board.
In the small case space, I mean, there's a huge movement right now, and it's probably not as new as I think it is, but we've gotten out of control on RGB lighting. Like it is just insane. And now on the boards, it's coming kind of standard, and every slot is got RGB. Are you seeing that same trend in the small form factor space, or is that kind of being limited to the bigger spaces?
Unfortunately or fortunately, yeah, it's on the ITX boards, depending on how you look at it. Like the board I have in here has a strip of LEDs. The last one I had a strip of LEDs. It's fine. You can disable them, and they all have actually the jack or the mounting point for internal LED strips. So that trend isn't going anywhere. They're making those boards for everyone. I think in the right case, it can look pretty cool. So I'm not a all-around LED hater, but as you can see, I don't have them running currently.
Yeah, we have Ryan and Bob coming on next week from Think Computers, and they review the big cases, and of course that's kind of the space where this kind of RGB craze has gone. And man, when you watch the YouTube videos, there's a bunch of YouTubers that are covering these, and it's just lights everywhere. It's like New York City, which again, no hate on that, but just it seems like we're doing a lot of it, Mike.
But what I hate about it is, you guys know how I build my computers. It's the eBay special, right? Like I'm using all this old gear. I'm like, I don't want LEDs in here lighting up. You don't want to see what's in here. I need a no panel on this case. It has a panel and a nice LED that just shines on this old blue style Intel motherboard. I'm like, yeah, and we don't want to see that. We don't need any highlights there. So at least it's a blue LED so that it doesn't I don't need those highlighting my system.
I guess I can't talk. I've got 8 monitors on my desk, so everybody has their vice. Mine just happens to be monitor space. Jay, you've been building computers for a while. Has the actual stuff that you have to do to build a PC changed much? I think it's been 4 years actually since I built my last rig, and I used to do a lot of that. I haven't done much of it. Is the industry changing much, or is it kind of still the same? If you did it 4 years ago or 5 years ago, it'd be okay now?
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar. There are a few differences. The biggest difference in terms of building would probably be, for one, I think the coolers now have better mounting hardware, so it seems to be pretty simple to get any cooler on pretty much any motherboard. I would also say that the M.2 drives are different. So now that they're on the motherboards, that eliminates a lot of cables and simplifies systems. So I think that was probably the best change, obviously, speed-wise, and in terms of ease of building, it really kind of sped things up a lot.
Now you're jamming a lot into a little tiny space, and so an M.2 is advantageous to that. But if you had a choice between M.2 and going just kind of with a regular SSD drive, is there one you choose every time, or is it based on space?
I would never use a standard SSD again if I could. If
Really?
I could only do M.2s, I would go all out. Like I've got 2 in this system now, and I only have SSDs because I need more storage. That's the only reason.
Just overall space, overall speed considerations then at that point for you? Yeah.
Space, speed, obviously the speed is like night and day. Not that it really matters for doing regular tasks like gaming or anything. It's you don't necessarily need NVMe SSD for gaming. But having the speed when you need it is helpful, and just the simplicity of it, not having cables running. It's multiple cables. It's a power cable and also a SATA cable going to your motherboard. It just eliminates all that. So I really love them, and I would love to do a system that has only M.2 drives and go with all external storage, but that might be something in the future. We'll see if we can make that.
Yeah, actually, ICDoc, who we're working with, has this nice little enclosure where you can get a couple of those in the enclosure and get them external. So that may be one of those little things I have to say, hey, we got this guy over there who you might. They try to give it to me. It's interesting. And Mike, for you, have you done much M.2 drive?
I haven't, just because, like I said, with my motherboards, I'm always using like old motherboards.
Yeah.
And which all do not have M.2.
No, but anything new today, right? Jay? Anything that any motherboard you buy today is going to support that. Price wise, I haven't priced M.2 over a regular SSD drive. Are they about the same now, or is it still a little more expensive?
It's definitely going to still be a little more expensive. The good thing is that, and this is what I tell people all the time who are doing budget systems, there are obviously the best one right now would be traditionally considered the Samsung 970 EVOs. Those are fantastic drives, or the Pros, whatever have you. Those are pretty much the standard go-to. You can get a 256 gig one of those for probably around $80, give or take. So I usually recommend people, hey, if you don't have the budget to get like 1 terabyte or you want to do something else, get one of those for $80 as your boot drive. It'll speed everything up. Then get a secondary hard drive. You could even go with the platter drive to store your games, files, all that fun stuff. If you have to reboot Windows, it simplifies it, and it just speeds up your whole system. So you can mix and match, and I think that's probably the thing that most people are doing these days.
Yeah, I'd agree. And also, if you're helping someone who's not as techie build a system, make sure you mention them too that there's a difference between like M.2 NVMe or M.2 SATA. Right? They look the exact same, plug in the same, but you're not going to get the same speed benefits when you go with a SATA M.2 drive compared to an NVMe drive. Something that, I think a lot, like I didn't realize that until not too long ago, right? Something you don't think about, hey, it looks the same, right? You plug it in. Same thing as like SSD standard SATA versus a spindle drive, right? Same connector, just different speeds. Things to think about.
Yeah. And I also tell people, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead, Jay.
I also tell people, one thing that I do, I'm a big fan of, is buying the M.2 SATA version of a drive. If you need a standard 2.5 inch, and then using an enclosure to then convert it. So in the future, if you want to use that for say like a laptop or a future system, you can just pop it out and then just go and just use it. So you can get. I use these Sabre enclosures. They're like $10. So you get them, pop it in there, and it works just like a standard platter drive or 2.5 inch.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Now, do they have those for internal as well?
Yeah. These are internal. Yep. I have external ones and internal ones. They literally just look like a Sabre drive or a regular 2.5 inch.
Yeah.
That's all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Mark was saying in the chat room, he says he built a system for a friend over Christmas, M.2 and all USB storage. It was strange not wiring up drives, right? Yeah, on the inside. Picked up a USB 3.1 10 external M.2 enclosure today. So yeah, that would be, and I'm assuming that's, if it's 3.1, is that USB-C?
It could be A still too though. So.
It's a weird space. I think I'm going to find myself all of a sudden I've caught the hardware bug, and again it comes about every year about this time. I don't know why, but changing some things out. I, like Mike, end up, and we're going to talk about this at the end of the show, repurposing some older hardware to do various storage things. Jay, are you a NAS guy at all? Are you keeping storage kind of off the PCs then in a NAS?
I think we touched on this last time.
Yeah,
so I have a NAS. I have a 4-bay NAS, but it still isn't. I haven't hooked it up since I moved in. I was using it to do a lot of media streaming before. So I have probably, I don't know, 800 movies from over the years and a ton of music. And with like Netflix, Amazon, I haven't needed it as much. I just haven't needed it. So since I moved in here, I haven't even hooked it up. So it's just kind of sitting in the box. If you can see, I can probably point to it. Oh, wait. This way. There we go.
There we go.
There's my little Western Digital 10 gigabyte backup, crappy USB 3.0 one. And I know that's going to kill you guys, but that's what I've been using to back up my video files.
It does, if it does the job, right? It does make me a little sad that you're not using the NAS.
It makes me sad too, but I truthfully don't need the NAS currently. In the future, like I said, when I move and get everything set up, I'll definitely be looking back into that. But unfortunately, right now, I'm not set up.
No worries.
I've been on that trend too, though. Like I go in these waves of like, I need the best everything, got to be amazing. And then like recently I've been in hey, let's consolidate. Because I go through the phases of building up, like I got so much extra stuff. You know, for example, consolidating everything into my one Unraid server instead of having a machine for the camera and VR for Untangle for my router. I'm like, can we consolidate this stuff? Okay, do I really need the super fast internet speed from Cox? No, I don't. Let's bring that down a little bit. And I've been kind of trying to see, okay, what are my bare bones? What do I really just need to run my day to day? And my wife and I are kind of like you. We're all Plex. We used to be like everything was Plex, and now I kicked all my friends off, kicked the family off. And that was a freeing moment where as soon as I didn't need to keep it up and running for other people, I was kind of like, we started watching more Netflix in the last week and we got into some of those shows. I'm like, man, maybe we really don't need all the Plex stuff that I was, kind of laboring over to make for a good experience for family and friends. And that was kind of a freeing moment. So I definitely understand like the consolidation, like use what works, right? Why complicate things if it doesn't need to be complicated?
Absolutely. So I have Netflix, Amazon, and Comcast. Between those three, I mean, I have access to most things. So,
are you affected by the whole Sinclair thing for cable? That's been driving me nuts. So they like YouTube TV is who we use for cable, and them and Sinclair, who controls the Fox Sports regional channels, they haven't been able to come to an agreement. So I lost my regional Fox Sports Midwest. So like the Creighton game that I was watching, Creighton basketball yesterday, couldn't watch that. Not gonna be able to watch my Royals baseball because that's all Fox Sports Midwest. It's one of the things that Sinclair has been struggling to come to agreement with a lot of cable companies. Right. I didn't know if you were affected by that too.
We are not, because at least locally, because we have Comcast Sportsnet in this area, so they carry all the games, luckily. But I don't know. I'd have to look at some of the other Fox channels to see if we're missing anything.
Yeah,
but I know we lost Stars, we lost ID, we lost a couple channels because it's getting more expensive and they can't keep up. So similar issue, just probably different channels.
Yeah, we're going to start having to go like full a la carte. Like we were trying to go a la carte out of convenience.
Yeah.
And now we're going to have to go a la carte out of, necessity because, okay, these people have these channels, these don't. Hopefully, even some of the big cable companies, right? They're not going to have everything. You're going to have to go start looking for other solutions. It's interesting.
Yeah, so pretty soon streaming will be more expensive than cable, and we'll have.
It's going that way, isn't it?
To. Yeah.
And then what will we say? We're reattaching the cable. I reattached the cable. I soldered it back together. Like, what do you do now, Mike? Remember, Jay lives in the city that threw snowballs at Santa, so nobody wants to wants to do that. So
we can't live it down.
It's great. That's the only joke I know about Philly. So Jay, thinking about if I'm doing a build today, and you do a lot of this. So if I'm doing a build today, whether it's going to be on a small board or full size board, I'm really thinking, and you just said this, I'm really thinking about a 256 or larger M2 NVMe drive, right? That's price wise, that's still going to be pretty reasonable, right?
Absolutely.
I am going to want, and where do you land on memory? So do you go 8, 16? Do you just max it out? Where are you at with how much memory do you like to have in a box?
So that would be, it depends on what you do, right? Okay. That's what I tell everyone. I would say at minimum, try to go with 16 just in case. If you really are stretching the budget, sure, go 8. Make it work into your budget. But I usually recommend 16. There's a sweet spot. Even for gaming, there have been a lot of reports that there is benefit. There are games that can chew up a lot of RAM, and obviously Chrome by itself can chew up a lot of RAM. So it's definitely something that I recommend. Anyone doing content creation, even if you're just streaming, I say pop 32. It's just better. If you're doing any sort of video editing, anything like that, compiling, 32 is kind of the jump off point for that. I'm running 32. I'm thinking of trying to get 64 at this point. So that's really where I stand. But also, if you're running Ryzen, I would say go faster RAM over more capacity, because it benefits from actually faster RAM with their Infinity Fabric. So it really depends on what you're doing. Intel, not as much, but AMD, go with faster RAM if you can. So if it's the choice between 16 gigs at 2600, which I don't know, well, that's not really 2400, or 8 gigs at 32, you probably want to start with 8 gigs and then kind of roll from there. So.
Yeah. Are you overclocking anything at this point on your builds, or are you leaving it standard?
I'm overclocking and underclocking everything. So that's or undervolting everything. That's where I'm at. So I've lately been heavy into undervolting, which is for mobile and desktop has some pretty distinct advantages. So GPU undervolting specifically is something that I'm kind of touching on more lately. I have a 2070 Super in my current rig, and undervolting it, I was able to drop the temps by around 5 to 10 degrees, which is great. While still overclocking it at the same time. And my CPU running at 5 gigahertz at, I think, there's some great guides out there that people can show you how to do so.
There was a big run during the Bitcoin craze from 2018 on GPUs. Mm-hmm. Do you have, as you're building systems, are we to the point now where you put at least some kind of hefty GPU in everything? Or is there kind of a reasonable, because they jacked the prices way up on them. Yes. And then both companies came out with these monster GPUs that are like $1,000, right? Yeah. So where are you at today on the GPU side? What do you kind of recommend if someone's doing a build?
If you're doing a build, before you even say, this is the GPU I want, what kind of games do you play and what monitor do you want to use? Those are the two considerations. So if you're say, hey, I play esports titles, I play Fortnite and stuff like that, that doesn't take a lot of horsepower. Grab like a 1660 Ti, you'll be fine. You'll be able to play that pretty much all day on most monitors. If you play AAA titles, you want to play like Tomb Raider, those kind of games, Metro, with ray tracing, then obviously you need to bump it up a little bit. So I say for sure, for entry-level gamers, people doing esports, a 1660 Ti is a fantastic card. Like, you really can't beat it. The 2060 is too, but a little more expensive, obviously. I try to stay away from the AMD stuff simply for power consumption reasons with compact builds. But if you want to do 120 hertz gaming, 144, 240 hertz gaming, then you want to start thinking of moving up to 2070 Super at minimum, and then obviously it goes up from there. For 4K gamers, there's really no GPU still that can handle 4K gaming properly, to be perfectly honest. So not for AAA titles at least. But so I think the 2080 Ti's, those kind of cards are a bit of a waste, in my opinion. 2080 Super is probably where I would stop in terms of performance and price. But it really depends on what you want to do. I know these are kind of like non-answers, but
no, it's good. I think, well, in the audience here is going to dig in and figure it out anyways. But I find it to be a good starting spot. Like, people are always kind of asking me, like, where do I start? And then they want to do some homework on it. You spend a lot of time doing this and talking about it. I really haven't bought a GPU now in maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
And, I bought a bunch of 1060s back in the day and got them.
Great card.
They're 3 gig cards. They do great. I don't PC game.
Okay.
So I don't have to worry about that. I just watch YouTube. So, works great for those.
So entry level, then I'd say just flat out entry level 1660 Ti, fantastic card.
Okay. That's the card I want to jump up to. I'm on a 1060 right now, 1060 SC, so it's a 6 gigabyte card. And I'm able to play and stream off that using the NVMe coding or NVNC codec, whatever, that little extra chip on there, right? Mm-hmm. So I use that for processing, for encoding the stream, play off it. Now, what's important for me, I'm super glad you mentioned it, depends on the monitor too.
Yep.
I've
seen some people get like a 2070 and they're still running a 1080p 60 hertz monitor. I'm like, you're kind of defeating the purpose there. You can't even go above it. But so I play at 1080p 60, and that 1060 is perfect for all the games that I've tried, right? You play Escape from Tarkov, which isn't even optimized very well. All the esports, things like that, and it works just fine for that. Now the the 1660 that you mentioned, what I like about that is it has the Turing technology in it. So your encoding, if you are using it for streaming, it's going to look a lot better. It rivals the H.264 encoding for any sort of streaming. So I agree with you. That is like I think it's a sweet spot for cards, especially for people who are kind of maybe just getting into it. Maybe they have a 144 hertz monitor. They just got it, but they're still okay with 1080p. Have you been able to do 1440 on that 1660?
It depends on the game. You can do 1440, but I wouldn't really recommend it. If people are looking for that resolution, I'd probably recommend jumping up
to like a 16 or like a
2060. You could probably start doing 1440, but really, if you want to comfortably be able to do 60 hertz at 1440 for most titles, you probably want to do a 2070 Super. That's probably really where you need to be. So it depends for sure, but I mean, yeah, if you jump up to a 1660 Ti, you won't be sorry. It's a great card for sure.
Jay,
for a great price too.
Yeah.
Am I sacrificing anything by going like with the mini ITX? Going small with gaming. Am I sacrificing anything over a full size build today?
It depends. Yes, I would say if I'm going to be honest, usually yes, you are sacrificing something. So it's typically heat and noise. Those are typically the biggest trade-offs. And also overclocking headroom. Since obviously the parts run hotter, there's a lot less room. There's less room for cooling as well. So you're not putting a 360 mil radiator in one of these cases, So that's typically what it is. This XTD case is a rarity in terms of what it can do, but even that has its limitations. I wouldn't be able to put like a Threadripper CPU in there and go crazy or anything like that. So you have to pick tailored components to fit these cases as opposed to picking a case and then filling it with whatever you'd like. So it really does take a little more care, I guess you'd say, and planning to find the right power supply, the right GPU, the right fans that will be quiet but still cool, etc. So yeah, you're also sacrificing sanity because it can really drive you crazy trying to build some of these systems.
Have you started a build and realized as you were getting it put together, like, I got the wrong things on this?
Yeah, so there's a case, this one that I'm pointing to right there. It's like a vertical case. It was a nice case. I tried to fit an ultra compact 92 millimeter Asetek liquid cooler in there. And I was like all pumped. I ordered it from eBay. It wasn't a bit. I was so excited. No, it didn't fit. So you run into stuff like that where you're dealing with actual millimeters of space as opposed to inches. Yeah, and it sometimes just doesn't work out.
Yeah. So temperature and volume or sound or heat, right, are the two. Are you also overclocking your GPUs then when you put them in as well? So under voltage overclocking on those?
Yep. So I push everything as far as I can without murdering the components inside the heat. So GPUs typically are a little tougher, I would say, in the ITX cases. The CPUs, the coolers are a little larger, more heat fins, more space. So they tend to cool a little bit better. But I haven't really had any major issues there. Obviously, if you're going to run the compact cards, the ITX versions of these cards, there's not really a lot of overclocking headroom at all. So in a lot of the cases, if you guys check out my channel and go back, most of the builds I've done have compact GPUs in them. So there are some real trade-offs there when it comes to overclocking performance and overall heat. So for that, yes, for cases that can take full size, full length cards, not as much. But yeah, I do like to overclock.
Yeah. Well, and then how do you when you're kind of testing the temp, the performance, do you use a kind of a standard piece of software? Is there something you use to kind of get the measurements so you're getting what you want plus temperature and sound?
Yeah. So I use Furmark for GPU burn-in testing. That basically just pegs it at 100 and gives you nice even stress test numbers. It gives you that like Eye of Sauron if you've ever seen it on your screen while it's going around. And then I use Prime 95, the stable version for the CPU. Those are pretty straightforward, pretty consistent. Just make sure you're using the same version because the different versions of Prime 95 and Furmark do different things. So you just have to be consistent with that there. And then for testing the actual performance, I like to run TimeSpy loops. So that's 3D Mark software that does automatically generated scores, essentially. I just run endless loops of that to see what actual gaming performance you'll get in terms of temperatures and clock speeds over time. And you can just track everything with fraps for like frame rates for actual game data. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the typical suite. I'm trying to think, did I leave anything out? No, I think that's about it.
And you just do that the same for every build that you do, and then just kind of keep track of it to report it on your site. Have you found do you think more people are building than built 2 or 3 or 4 years ago? Is that community getting smaller, staying the same? Because I don't feel like there's as many system builders as there used to be. But I'm not in that space anymore. So what do you think?
I think when the 10 series cards came out and the cores jumped from 4 to 6 and 8, I think that kind of gave it a kick in the pants. I mean, if you look at NVIDIA's stock prices, I would say, yeah, absolutely yes. But I think that the YouTube community has had a huge role in keeping it alive, for sure. There are a lot of really, really popular channels that do a ton of PC building. And there have been a lot of great games released on PC lately. So I do think it's pretty strong. I haven't noticed any decline in viewership or readership. So those numbers, I mean, obviously that's an anecdotal point for me, but it seems to be pretty consistent. I haven't seen any drop off. I don't know if it's necessarily growing like it was. If anything, I think the pricing of current parts, 20 series cards, the new generation of CPUs, maybe pricing a lot of people out. But people are pretty much done with the last gen systems in terms of gaming systems, Xbox and PlayStation 4. So I think they're kind of going back to the PC because we can get better graphics and we can do a whole bunch of other cool stuff. But I also think the PC laptop market, gaming laptop market, has chipped into some of the desktop stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Think so.
Yeah, there have been a lot of really good, powerful laptops released in the last year or two, that can really do most of the things that desktops can do. If you have a 6-core laptop with, like we mentioned, the 1660 Ti, it can pretty much do what you need it to do unless you're, rendering constantly or compiling code all day. So for casual users, gamers, it can do what you want it to do.
Yeah. Do you also review laptops on your site then, the gaming laptops?
I think the only laptop I reviewed was the Surface Book 2, just because I was so enamored with it when I bought one a couple years ago. But I will be reviewing laptops soon. It's just honestly kind of boring. So, and there's like a million laptop review sites. I don't think we need another one. But if there's something, as with anything, if there's something that no one's covered and I think it's really cool, like the laptop I just got, the Aero 15 Classic, I'll probably at least write an article about it.
Okay. How do you like that laptop so far?
Oh, I love it, actually. I have it right here. It's cool.
Yeah, show it to us.
This beauty right here. This is the Aero 15 Classic. It's very thin, as you can see. I'll close it for you guys. It's very thin, less than I think it's 0.74 inches and around 4 pounds. 15-inch screen, 4K. This is the 4K model that I got because obviously I create 4K 60 hertz, matte black, beautiful 94 watt-hour battery and 2 M.2 drive slots. So this thing is loaded. The only bad thing, I guess, would be this webcam, but I rarely use
webcam. Down there, huh? Yeah, you would want to plug in. Yeah, you'd want to plug in a webcam for that. What's the retail on that?
So that's another thing. So this current model that I have here has a 9750H, which is the Intel 6-core CPU. I think it goes to 4.3 gigahertz. Great CPU for gaming and for creating. Fantastic. It also has a 1660 Ti, and it came with a 256 gig NVMe SSD. So I got this for $1,300, which is a fantastic deal. I mean, that's great. With the 4K screen, Pantone certified, one of the crispiest, most beautiful screens I've seen on a laptop, probably better than my actual 38-inch ultra-wide monitor screen, if I'm honest. Thunderbolt has everything. USB 3, it really has everything. A powerful machine that I've been really pleased with so far.
And you said, so that's a gigabyte, right? That's a gigabyte Aero?
Yeah, Aero 15.
Aero 15 Classic.
So there's a Classic, and then there's just a newer Aero 15. They have the newer model has, or I guess the newer body has also an option for an OLED screen, which is fantastic, but kind of kills your battery life. So there are some options there in terms of what do you want it to look like and what do you want it to do specifically. But this is the model I chose because for a creator, this is pretty fantastic. It has a number pad, which for me, someone who does write code at times and also just likes having a number pad, that's really great.
Yeah, that's a beast.
Yeah,
that is a big one. And what was the weight on that again?
It's around 4 pounds.
Okay,
so
that's not too bad.
I think it was 4.24. Don't quote me on that.
But do you take it with you much, or does it pretty much stay there for gaming?
Yeah, I bring it to work with me every day. Okay. So because I have a work laptop, a Vivo Book, which is fine, but it's a work laptop. It's underpowered, and if I need to like use any of the Adobe suite, any of those applications or anything, I'll just have that. Or if I have a second, I can just play a game or something like that. I do like having it just around.
No, that sounds cool. You mentioned we were talking about video cards and how expensive, like they somehow took that from, and I remember thinking a $300 video card was outrageous, right? And then they somehow took that to $1,000. Another thing, and you alluded to this earlier in the program, the other thing that's gotten a little out of hand are headphones. Like these went from, things we just wore and they were maybe $25 to, now we're buying Bose stuff for $350, $400, $450 Sennheiser and stuff like that. Are you seeing, you review, you like the audio a bit. Is that the truth? Am I saying the truth? Is it getting out of control?
So the funny thing is it's actually always been out of control, if I'm honest. So speakers and audio gear historically has been some of the most overpriced stuff ever. There's a lot of snake oil. There's a lot of this does mystical things when it really just sounds bad. There's a lot of that in the audio space. And because it's so subjective, it's hard for people to just say, what you're saying is nonsense. So for years, I mean, we've had high-end speaker systems, high-end headphones that were just okay. And recently, and to be perfectly honest, Mass Drop or Drop had a lot to do with this, bringing a lot of high-end products to mainstream customers for more affordable prices. And we've seen an explosion kind of in the audio space where we're having new high-quality amplifiers, new high-quality headphones like this, which previously would have cost several $1,000s probably, and now under that $1,000 price point. Now, still not cheap, still not super affordable, but I would say you do get what you pay for if you're looking for high-fidelity audio in the $500 to $1,000 range. There's just so much good stuff.
I find a lot of folks with earbuds and they're traveling or, the noise canceling when they're in an airplane. Is there a space we're looking at I don't know if you said this, I had a phone call come in, but what are we looking at on screen here? And why do you like these?
Focal Elex is what we are looking at here. So this is a pair of, I will say it's a $700 pair of headphones. It's not cheap, but for what it does, it's incredible and a great value. As crazy as that sounds.
You the manufacturer or what?
So I mean, that is well priced for the performance that you get. I mean, they're an open back pair of headphones, super good build quality, and they're really quite impressive. Obviously, they look like art if you kind of look at them a little bit. Like metal all over the place, leather ear cups, everything's super soft, and they're ultra comfortable. But more importantly, they sound incredible. They really blow you away in terms of the sound quality that you get. If you're listening to high quality FLAC files, even regular bad music, MP3s that you're streaming from Spotify, everything sounds really good, crystal clear, and they almost sound like you have speakers in front of you, as opposed to just listening to some generic headphones. Yeah.
When do you from when you listen to them or when you use them, what are your habits for that kind of price? You think they'd be around your neck 24/7. But when do you listen most?
I listen usually late at night. So when it starts getting to around turn off the speakers time around 8, 9 o'clock, and I'm still kind of, jamming out, listening to whatever, that's when I try to do it. Like to unwind, late. Just plug them in, sit back in my chair, and just kind of relax. I mean, I don't want anyone to see me with these on either because they look ridiculous. But you look ridiculous. You really.
Oh, well, okay. Now I got to change my 1 second.
No, yours are fine. I mean, they look kind of bulbous, like they're a little ridiculous. But
yeah, Yeah. Out in public, right? Like on the podcast, it's something different. Out in public, I wouldn't be wearing these out in public. That's for sure.
So I see more and more of that though, with folks out exercising and they got a pair of cans on, and you're like, I don't know, I'm still not used to that, right? I mean, it is it's a different day. Do you for the average guy, like if we're talking from a value perspective, a pair of headphones, what do you like in that kind of value price range, as we think 150 to $300?
150, probably. I would look at some of the Audio Technica stuff. So it really depends on what you're looking for sure. But Audio Technica has some very good headphones. I think it's the K371. I think that's the model. I'm just pulling that off the top of my head, though.
Yeah, no, that you're doing really well for pulling it off the top of your head.
Yeah, so I think that's one of their new models that came out. That's around the $150-ish mark. They make great stuff. If you're just a general user in that $150 to $300 range, the Sony 100 MX3, which is the noise canceling model, that's what I use for travel. Those sound really good for that price range, and they're wireless or wired. They're pretty flexible, so that's a great bargain there as well. There are a lot of just good headphones in that range. And obviously, if you want to go a little bit lower, anything from costs, I'm a big fan of them. I'm a big fan of what they do in like the budget sector.
You had put a cost. Let me bring that up. You had put a pair of costs. You call these what do you call these?
These are, so this is a funny story. So I did an actual video on these. These are the Cost KSC75 modded to be wireless. So the KSC75 is like literally a $15 set of headphones that sounds incredible. It has like a wide open back sound stage that you would get from something like the Focal Elex that I just mentioned earlier, but it's super budget, and it's very light. Just a clip-on that sits on your ears. Again, you look silly wearing them, but it's worth it, trust me. So these are one of my favorite pairs of headphones. I used to use them at work casually because they're super light. You can still hear people talking, just pop them on and off. But I wanted a wireless pair, and so I just made them myself, essentially. And when I did that, Cost actually commented on the video and said, "Hey, thank you for your support, blah, 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 but I think we have something you might like in the future." They reached out to me, and then they actually sent me these, which are a version of their existing headphones that basically do the same thing that I built, but better. So they've done it better. These are the KP30H or 30i, I believe that's what's called, wireless. So these are really fantastic headphones. They're only about $40, but they clip right onto your ears, and they're one of the best sounding budget headphones, especially in the wireless sector, that I've ever heard. So you just clip them on, and no muss, no fuss. Yeah. They're super cheap. You can also get a wired version for around $30 as well. They have them on Amazon, anywhere you want to get them. They're really great. So people always ask, hey, I just want something I can work out in or something casual. I want that audiophile sound, but I don't want to spend a ton of money. Just go for these. Just trust me. Trust me. If you take anything from this video, these are quality headphones.
Yeah. $40.
$40, yeah.
So, wireless, and how do they charge?
These are micro USB still, so still in the Stone Age for that, but you can make it work.
Yeah,
it's worth it. About 6 hours for charge. So
that'll get you through a workout. If you're doing a 6-hour workout or longer, you have bigger problems.
Unless you're The Rock, it might not.
Yeah, and you can afford it. What do you like from an earbud perspective? What do you like? Do you have a kind of a go-to that you use often?
So I typically hate earbuds. I hate I don't like that closed off feeling for whatever. I don't know. It's just a pressure thing. It's not my thing. I like more of I guess a bud style, where like the Apple AirPods, that would be more of a bud style. The problem is those don't typically sound good. So what I came up with a compromise. So I have this set here. This is the Razer True Wireless. These are $100. I'm not gonna lie, they don't sound great. That's not the goal of them. But they're black. They look cool. You can put them in. They're water resistant. You can work out with them all day. They sound good for podcasts, etc. And the music is acceptable. So I use these for casual listening, sitting in the office, listening to podcasts and working out. And they slip right in your pocket. and they're $50 cheaper than AirPods, and they're not goofy looking. So, I mean, these, if you're looking for true wireless earbuds, most of them simply do not sound that great. I wouldn't recommend it. You'd get better audio from like something like a 10T2, something that's cheaper and sounds better all the time. But if you're going to do it, go for convenience, and that's what something like this provides. This Razer model specifically, I really have been a fan of.
Nice. Yeah. It's a good. I actually bought a cheap pair of, and I'm trying to remember, I reviewed these on the show maybe a year ago.
Those knockoff AirPods?
Yeah, those knockoff AirPods.
Actually, I got them. You said they weren't bad.
At Shopko. And yeah, they were like $30 and they look just like it. In fact, I've had people like comment, they always make the AirPod snob comment when you have those in, like, oh, AirPods, right? Like, actually, no, I paid $30 for these on clearance. You're right. The sound isn't great, but when I'm doing a Peloton workout or it's good enough, right?
Exactly.
For what you're doing. Those charge, I think I probably get 4 or 5 or 6 charges out of them. Then I have to recharge them and, plug the base in and get that done, but good enough. But yeah, you're right. I think earpods in general, not the greatest sound. I'm with you. I can't wear them when they plug up my ears like that. That just does not work for you. Mike, are you okay with that when they?
Well, so it used to, but the one saving grace that I have found, so I moved over to the AirPod Pros and they have a transparent mode, so when you put them in, it'll go into, if you don't change it, it'll go into like the full noise cancellation mode. And that's where you get kind of like that, like you almost want to like pop your jaw because like but you turn on transparent mode and all of a sudden it opens up. And I really like that. Changed AirPods for me on a sealed in earbud like the AirPod Pros are. It has a microphone on the outside, so it's still air pressure a little bit tight, but it opens up the microphone so you can hear a little bit from the outside, and you lose that pressure sensation. And that was a saving grace for me on those. Those have been my new favorite wireless earbuds to wear, mainly because, like, the audio quality is not amazing, right, on the sound, but I would say more than acceptable. And the microphones on them have gotten a lot better. People because I've asked people on the phone, like, hey, do I sound good? Like, yeah, you sound great. And I've even done some A/B testing a little bit. I'll switch over to my old AirPods and they can definitely notice a difference. I don't know what they're doing with maybe the noise cancellation around me or what it is. It is interesting though, on those AirPod Pros, it doesn't even look like there's a microphone. You can't tell where it's at. So I don't know if the speaker microphone on the outside is the same. But yeah, that what I think they call it transparent mode is what makes those a lot better for me, because I'm the same way. I don't usually like the fully clogged up style.
I think the Sony in-ear buds have a similar feature where they let the sound in as well.
It's amazing. I love it.
I haven't heard either one, but now you're making me want to check them out.
Yeah, well, yeah, try it out because it really did change the game. Because I do like how secure they are in the ear. And they fit a lot better. And when you do need noise cancellation, you can switch to that mode on the phone, and it works great. But I have those in almost all day at work, at least one, so I can answer phone calls real quick. I'm on the phone a lot, and I use my iPhone. And then, but I keep it in transparent mode, and it also helps because you can hear people a lot better. It actually, it's almost like a hearing aid. It kind of amplifies your hearing a little bit. You can kind of feel like you have superhuman hearing because it's a digital microphone that it's picking up, and it's just amplifying it into the speaker of the earbud.
Have you had a chance to try them on a plane yet? The noise
I will this next week. I have not yet. So flying out this next week, and I'm really excited to see how will they compare, because I'm going to bring my Bose Quiet Comforts and then those as well. I still have the really old school Quiet Comfort Bose that are still wired, so they don't have Bluetooth. So I'm hoping that the AirPods are good enough, because I hate being tethered to a wire. Although I did also just get a Nintendo Switch that I'm going to be probably taking and playing some Zelda on the flight out, and that only has a wired earbud port built in. You can buy a Bluetooth adapter, but they do not support Bluetooth.
That's the most modern and also Stone Age system ever made.
That is what I'm finding. It is. So it has a USB-C port, right? That's how it connects to everything. Yet they do not open up the Bluetooth to accept Bluetooth headphones. It's just the weirdest device. you'll ever see.
Yeah, I have a Switch. I love it, but it's just like, it's so Nintendo. It's such a Nintendo.
It is.
thing.
But man, I forgot. It's the nostalgia, right? I opened that thing up. I'm like, oh, this is so much fun. We had some friends over, and we played Mario Kart and Smash, and I was like, oh, these are like the good old days. We were having just the best time. I don't think the four of us, we're adults now. We're married and we're boring. We have kids, and I'm like, man, we have not laughed this hard or had such a good time in a long time. So it was a lot of fun getting that Switch out.
Yeah, they nailed the joy part of it.
They did, and they nailed the party mode aspect of it. And what I'm excited for is even like my buddy and I on our way back, we're flying back together. You pop that thing up on a stand, hand him one of the Joy-Cons that's already on there. You're built for a 2-person party.
Yeah.
With just the device, not bringing anything extra, right? Pop off the cons, hand him one, and him and I can race some Mario Kart on the plane ride home.
Love it.
Andrew in the chat room said, wait, there's a Discord? They're having a Discord conversation. I was like, Andrew, do you not listen to the 8,000 times I say theaverageguy.tv/Discord? I didn't say it tonight, so we'll let that one pass.
We'll let that one slide.
If you want to join us in our Discord group, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. When I was on the plane to London, I had the 35s on. I'd been sitting down. I think I watched a whole movie, and I got up to go to the bathroom, and I went to pull my headphones off, and it was one of those moments like, you got the headphones on, but you kind of forget how loud it is in the plane. And then you take them off and I'm like, it was almost shocking. You're like, whoa, oh yeah, I am on a plane. And I had been wearing those. I kind of put them on as soon as I sat down. And so I never really even heard us take off or, just the regular cruising sound. And it does make a huge difference. I was like, I don't want to fly anywhere to do anything, right? With what's going on. But it sure makes a big difference to have a really nice pair of headphones to do that. Jay, are there better when we, the Bose, the 35s are kind of the industry standard. Are there better in your testing? Are there better noise canceling headphones that are similar in price to the Bose that you've come across?
I haven't heard anything better at the noise canceling aspect. Like I think I mentioned earlier, I have the Sony version, the MX or the 100 MX3s. So that's basically the direct competitor. They do a decent job, but the Bose are still better at noise canceling. They just are. So, and the new 700s that they came out with are decent as well. But the 35 seems to just be like the ultimate sweet spot for people. Like it just is a go-to for years and years, and it still is. So I mean, I've heard some of the Bowers and Wilkins stuff. I've heard a lot of them, and the Bose still just, if you're flying, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, no, it's great to have. It makes me want to fly more just so I can wear them. You're like, when you drop 350 bones on them, you're like, oh, I should probably use these to mow the lawn or something, right? To get more time. Jay, as you look ahead on your channel and some things, you alluded to this a little bit earlier, but what are you looking forward to for the rest of the year? Anything review-wise? You doing anything new? If folks were going to follow you on YouTube, what could they expect coming up here in the next 6 months or so?
In the short term, I have a few cases that I'm going to be reviewing. Some nice new iTakes cases that are actually from larger manufacturers, which is a new thing. So we're seeing an influx of ITX cases from major manufacturers now, which is something that I've been wanting for a long time. So it can drive the price down for sure, and we can get new designs, custom pre-built stuff with custom cooling, all that fun stuff. So I have a few cases that I can't honestly, there's a box behind me, you can probably see it. That is an NDA case, which I can't talk about. Sorry.
That's okay. We don't want you to get in trouble.
Yeah, I have a couple things coming up in that sector. And also I'm really excited to see the new Ryzen laptops. I'm definitely going to be picking up some of them. We're going to have some 8-core laptops, which is going to be crazy. Just like, wow. I mean, like 8 to 12 cores in a mobile laptop that's less than an inch thick and 3.5 pounds. I mean, that's crazy. So I'm super excited about that as well. I'm also NVIDIA 3000 series cards when they come out. So the new round of cards should be releasing at some point this year. So we'll look out for that as well. Those are the things that I'm most looking forward. But in the short term, for sure, hammering the cases. That's my bread and butter. Come for some ITX builds and cases and stick around for it.
Yeah, sounds good. Are you hearing any winds of, China kind of has shut down for 3 or 4 weeks? Somebody told me the other day that they're seeing blue skies in Beijing for the first time in 10 years. Like, that's how much things have shut down. I mean, that's how they're not doing anything, because they can see it's a blue sky, right? Are you are you seeing any effect of that on getting parts in, or reviews, or any of those kinds of things? Are you feeling that slowdown effect at all?
Not yet in terms of parts. I don't know if you guys remember. Do you guys remember the RAM shortage a couple years back?
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that that's not what happens again across the board. I don't know if it's going to affect steel, metal, aluminum prices, case materials like that, precious metals. I'm not sure. I haven't seen anything yet, but all the stock that's currently in stock has been there. Was built, manufactured, and shipped a while ago.
Yeah.
So this summer is when they're saying it's really going to hit, ramp up here in the States. So we'll probably see it around summer, fall. That's when we would probably feel some of the shortages.
Yeah. I think you're right. It'll probably take a while. Let's see. So, I was talking about the lawn. He said, Andrew said, I thought you had a robot that mowed the lawn, so I didn't have to go out and put earbuds in to get it done. No, I never actually got that built. I started putting it together, and it was like, this is too hard. So I kind of gave up on it. Jay, I think you're right. The delay will be solid into summer, and it may be a time to start acquiring some things just before, right? If you're going to do a PC build, might be the time to get it. If you're going to buy toilet paper, in the United States, you might want to do that like right now. I don't know if you followed this, but Costco is selling out of water and toilet paper and rice. Like, I don't know how you feel about this, but it's that's a little much. I said to my wife, I was like, hey, like, we don't have to go buy cases of it, but we might want to just make sure we have some, because there may be none there. And Walmart had even jacked the price up on toilet paper. So it is
mass hysteria as usual, and that's what you can come to expect from something like this. But hopefully they can contain it somewhat. Hopefully it doesn't get too crazy, because it's not great. It's not a great situation, obviously.
This is the quote I wanted to get from Andrew a second ago. Makes you wonder whether working from home will become the new normal for some industries in China. And I know it's happening right now. And we just did a show. I had Dave Jackson on from School Podcasting, and we did a show, I don't know, a couple months ago about using podcasting technology as audio for working from home, because it's just so much. Like, it's so much better when you get on a call and you can hear people and they can hear you, right? Type deal. And now I'm kind of wondering, like, we're going through some things, and I don't know about where you work, but we're starting to think through those contingencies of what if we have to send everybody home and say, hey, 2 weeks, we're shutting the doors, nobody come in.
Yeah.
Are there any conversations going on where you work about that?
Yeah, so actually I work from home pretty regularly. I work in tech, so that's pretty standard. I'm actually working from home tomorrow, so getting a little prep. But we've talked about it internally. Obviously, Philly's a large city, and we do work downtown. My office is downtown. So if they shut it down, we'll probably be working from home, like you said. Now, we use Google Hangouts and normal stuff, but to your point, I mean, I hadn't even considered using podcast software. That would make it a lot easier.
Yeah. Well, or at least podcast techniques, right? Mm-hmm. We do everything we can to have the best sound possible, the best presentation possible, and to create community. So, like, how do we do these things? Like, what if you ran a meeting like you run a podcast, where it's just not everybody sitting around, you know how meetings go. Everybody get there. Oh, how's your day? What's your weekend like? Whatever. And you can have some of that, but you kind of need a moderator and someone to kind of lead the conversation. And
absolutely,
you could have a meeting of 50 people like we're doing tonight. So we probably have, we've got 10 or so out there in the chat room. We could have 50, and that could be the three of us leading the meeting and the conversation and getting input from those 50. But have you ever been on a Zoom call with 50? Like, it's awful. It's
a nightmare.
It's just terrible.
10 people is ridiculous.
Yeah, everybody's trying to talk over each other. And so it was just, and we weren't thinking about 6 months ago when we did that podcast, we weren't thinking about it, but it may come to that point where, hey, you working remotely is not just working from home. Like, there's a bunch of things that have to go into it to make sure you can get to systems and they're supported, and then the meetings. And then it's really important as humans that we do things together. You can't just, you can't just be isolated at home.
Right.
Like that's a bad experience. You get disengaged really fast.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, as you do some days from home too. You need those days in the office to connect with people, right? To connect with humans.
Yeah.
So I think tech could be at the center of this when we think about if all of the United States goes home. Now, China covers a ton of our manufacturing right now. The world's manufacturing is happening in China. When they shut down, that's pretty severe, right?
Yes.
In the United States, when we go home, chances are we can be pretty close to being just as productive in a lot of cases, right?
Absolutely. Unless you're obviously any sort of manual labor or teachers or stuff
construction,
like that. Construction. Yeah.
Those kinds of things, right?
Most of our workforce, most of the skilled labor jobs for sure could probably do some sort of, be productive at home for sure. Like all of our files internally, like client deliverables and stuff like that, we keep in the cloud. So you can access all this, everyone's everything from home at this point, at least with our company. So it's pretty flexible. You could be anywhere, really. Sometimes I go to coffee shops and, you know what I mean? You can really be flexible with where you work. So if you put the systems in place ahead of time, they could probably help mitigate some of the potential damage from a shutdown, at least.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting. I think we're still here in the United States trying to figure out, Mike, where you work. Are you guys having these conversations yet?
It's mainly just wash your hands, people. No, they haven't talked about it yet. I mean, obviously we all at our work would have the ability to work remote. Yeah. So if it needs to happen, it needs to happen.
Yeah. Well, I think the question is not, can we work from home? I think most people can. The question is, how's the productivity when this is extended? Yeah. So how do people feel, and where does the productivity level go when it's 2 weeks of everybody at home? I don't think we've ever tested that.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a whole different world of remote working when everybody's remote all the time. A couple of years ago, a guy, and he worked for a company that made software. It was a social networking site for dogs. Okay. So they exist. They're out there.
Okay.
The unique part about it wasn't that they created a social media. By the way, he said people went nuts over it. The dogs, it was like, so think about Facebook for dogs, and the owners would post like the dog is talking kind of thing.
What?
And and they would anyways. Okay.
All right.
So the point, he said it was wildly popular, like posting pictures with the dogs. Oh yeah. Dog owners. Yeah, for sure. So anyways, he would say they were all remote, and they had created some software that had a picture of, so you put a sidebar on your monitor and it had a picture of your webcam during office hours. And no matter what was happening, every 15 seconds, that webcam took a picture. And it gave them an opportunity to have that contact with people throughout the day that gave them different looks. And then, so employees started dressing up differently. They would come in costumes, or they'd make a funny face, or right. And it became the water cooler conversation virtually. Yeah. That because of every 15 seconds, whether you liked it or not, that camera was going to take a picture.
There's a business idea, the work from home, just all in one software, online service for file management, video conferencing, everything. There's a business. We just can't.
Well, and I think it has to be more. It's more than just services of connecting people. It has to have that same human.
Yeah.
How do we connect people? Like we're connecting now. You got to do more. It's got to be more of that kind of stuff. Right. And so I think we're coming up on an interesting time. Jay, anything else I missed from you? I want you to comment on some things I'm going to share, but anything that we missed from you?
Looking around my desk for fun things. I think we covered everything.
Did we do a good job? Did we do?
You as always did a fantastic job.
Well, there's nothing better than interviewing a YouTuber because you're ready. So Jay, thanks for doing that. Hey, if you can stay around for a little bit while I talk about some gear.
Absolutely.
You okay with that? Okay.
Yeah.
So in last week's show, Schoonover, we were talking about, well, here, let me go back to this. So the PC behind me, this is a Fujitsu. I bet you didn't even know Fujitsu made PCs. They do.
No,
well, it's really server grade is what it was, but it's back in the day of the microservers, and they're still making microservers, but HP makes a bunch of them, but Fujitsu got in the space as well. This is a Primer G100 TX, I think. And it's a old Core i3 540. So that's 3rd or 4th gen, I think, Core i3 that came out. It had been, and the reason I have the Windows 7 box, we did a launch party for Windows 7 10 years ago on this. I still have the box. I don't know why, but I do. We just retired the box because Sarah was using it as a media center. And of course, media center guy data died. And let's just be honest, media center's dead. So I've been begging her, like, hey, can I get that box back? Like, I want to use it. You're not using it anymore. And so finally we swapped the Xbox. So she said, well, I need to have a DVD or a Blu-ray player. So I swapped the Xbox with it and brought it back. And I wanted to get more hard drives. So Kevin, we talked about this last week. Kevin got me this LSI. I'll show it. An LSI 8-port, 6 gig RAID SATA card. I got it off of eBay, $25. Like, these things have gotten so cheap. We do a lot of spinner drives here because we're creating a lot of storage space for it. And so Kevin gave me that recommendation. I'll have the link to it in the show notes if you're interested in doing that. He's going to send me. It doesn't have the right. I need the PC, and he's gonna hook me up with the PC end of that for it. This is more for server case. But Kevin, thanks for that recommendation as well. That was really helpful to get that done. So that came in during the week. I was mentioning it on the same, let's go back to on the same PC as I was taking this cover off. I'm sure you've never done this, Jay, but as I was taking the cover off, I broke the wire to the power switch. It was tight in there. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier. You can see I just ripped that wire right out, right? I was thinking, oh crap. Now, if I was smart, I would have known I have an extra case in the garage and I just could have salvaged it. But I went on Amazon, and in a day they sent me just a new switch cable for it. You could just
nice.
Right, just buy that. And so I just cut the end off, spliced it in, wired that in, went down to I couldn't find, I was like, where do I get those? Well, let me ask you two. I needed that shrink, the shrink tubing.
Yeah.
Well, where would you go to get that anymore? Like, Radio Shack is closed.
Micro Center, if you have one.
I don't have. I'm in Omaha.
I would have said Lowe's.
Lowe's,
right, in their electrical department.
That'd have been a good. That'd have been a choice. Walmart had it, but
they did.
They didn't have. They didn't have it in. They didn't have it in stock here.
Of course.
Got it.
O'Reilly's. That's right, at the auto parts store.
Oh, smart. So there you go.
So I went down to O'Reilly's, $3, picked up some shrink, the heat shrink stuff, spliced it together, put it back in. I've never fixed wiring in a PC in my life. I just have never done that. Wired it all back up, switch worked great. It came back in. Mike, you and I have been working on an Unraid box with it. So somehow last week I got convinced to create an
I'm so excited for your journey to start with Unraid, Jim.
We had the guys. We had John from Lime, the makers and supporters of Unraid on a year ago. I asked him to come back on. So perfect Unraid box, right? Core i3 doesn't need a ton of power. We're not doing a lot of processing on it. I guess if I wanted to use VMs or Dockers for those kinds of things, I may want to throw more power at it in the future. But it just got me kind of started on that. So 120 gig cache, 2 1 terabyte drives, just something to get it going. I got mocked a little bit on Twitter when I put that out there. They're like, 1 terabyte drive.
Yeah, but you see the whole community came to your defense on Twitter. It was just some troll trolled him and man, the whole community here. I think we had 4 tweets telling the guy to pretty much pound sand.
It's like, dude, sorry, I just was getting started. So that has been that's been and you get to do this, Jay, all the time, but I haven't built in a while. I just haven't had time to kind of work on those things. My cars got broken into. Well, not really. We left them unlocked and somebody went through them. Oh, no. And so I've been spending a bunch of time doing home automation, which has kind of filled that building niche. Have you done much home automation stuff? You're in an apartment, so you probably don't care, right?
So I have a more of a personal stance on automation that I don't trust any of it. More so I get its utility, but I truly do not trust it. And I really have to get over that. But that's kind of how I
do. You so you have no Alexa, no, or
None.
No Amazon device, no Google device. Sorry.
Which is crazy for someone with as much tech as I have.
Yeah.
But I go as far as I unplug my webcam from my computer when I'm not I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
Everything.
No, it's okay. You'll come to it. Eventually you'll have to give in, right? You'll want something that that does it. So I've been spending a bunch of time putting up cameras. We put a bunch of Ring cameras. And then Philips Hue, which does my lights, decided to stop supporting their V1 hub. And I gave in and bought a V2 hub. So that came in. I got a refurb deal on it, $30, which isn't terrible. And that came in this week. And it's everything you expect, right? You know, they send you network cable, they send you the power cord, and then the old one was round and this one's square. Thanks, Philips Hue, for changing from round to square. And I'm sure there's some new things in it. So we'll be setting that up. I'll be talking about that here in a future show, as well as that cut over to the Philips Hue. And then let's see if there's anything else broken. eBay. We'll be working on some of the IC dock pieces as well. So we have some updates for you guys on those coming. I'm sure, Mike, I'm going to be asking you especially on the Unraid box. Okay, what's next? Like, what do I need to do next? So you and I in future shows will be spending a little bit of time.
Future shows. What are you doing after the? What are you doing after the show tonight?
Well, I know what you're doing.
I've got to fix mine. Yeah, I cut off connection to mine, trying to reconfigure the network a little bit. So
you're fixing yours.
That's what I'm doing afterwards.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so it's been I've got a bunch of stuff to do, get these things set up, get them done. It's kind of fun to be back fixing this. I'm sure, Jay, you wouldn't do this if you didn't enjoy the process of putting this stuff together, right?
Oh, yeah. It's like adult Legos. That's really all it is.
That's a perfect way to describe it. Yes.
Yeah, it really is. I do find great joy in and I think this is why Mike and I get along so well, of repurposing stuff that has lost its life.
100%.
To make it work for something else again. And so that's kind of fun. Do you do any projects? I mean, you work on so much new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have old stuff that you try and kind of make work, or are you more like, no, I'm kind of on the front edge of things?
So that's one thing where I do want to get better, because I've historically covered like brand new, whatever's just came out kind of stuff. And I realized I can do that because I'm a 34-year-old man with a job. And like a lot of the people who watch my channel can't just go out and buy those parts. So it's something I really have been thinking about long and hard lately. I definitely want to start doing either Craigslist builds or eBay builds, because you can get a lot of great used parts. I mean, there's tons of fantastic used parts that are still going to be reliable. So it's something, admittedly, that I haven't done in the past, but I'm going to definitely be doing that this year. And there's actually a great channel. I don't know if you guys have seen, it's OZ Talks Hardware. He does all budget stuff. So it'll be like $300 gaming build. You know what I mean? Like something like that, where he finds super budget components from Craigslist or eBay, and just does really awesome systems that are still super effective for games.
Yeah.
That's my build right here. i7 3770, 1060. And an old motherboard, and it games, streams, full 1080p 60. So it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, the older components, quote unquote, old, still work very well. I mean, it's not like you're losing a ton unless you're doing something crazy. But if you're just gaming,
I'm not gonna be able to edit 4K on this thing. But for what I needed to do, simple gaming and podcasting and editing together some simple 1080 videos, gets the job done.
Exactly. And you saved like $2,000 a year from upgrading.
Right.
But it is kind of fun to have the latest, greatest, newest.
Oh, yeah. Trust me.
Right. I mean, I think you need to be on both sides. Like, I think it's good to have some stuff that's cutting edge up front and some stuff where you're just piecing it together on the back.
And it costs you too sometimes more to do it this way. Because like, if I want to update the CPU to like a new CPU, this old, the 1155 socket doesn't even work with anything anymore, right? So I'd have to swap out this entire thing. If I really want to do any more upgrades to this thing, it's an entire swap. Whereas if I had spent just a little more money, I could have gotten the new, so there's pros and cons. If you just need someone right now that works and you don't worry about upgrades, but sometimes it can actually put you in a little bit of a trap, which I realized too late.
Jay, what was the name of that channel again that you said?
Oh yeah, OZ. So OZ, like Oz Talks Hardware.
Okay. Okay, super good. You are at Tech Everything on Twitter. You are, I'm sure, youtube.com
TEK too. We should specify
TEK. And you're at youtube.com/Tech Everything.
Yep.
You are at techeverything.com as well. And let me encourage you, go out, follow Jay, do all those things. Your videos are great. I mean, you're kind of straight to the point. No, you're straight to the point. That's why I like them. So go out there, subscribe, watch them as well. We'll remind folks, we're live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern out here. We got Ryan Kirshner. Bob's coming back from Think Computers. And we had to cancel that show because my internet didn't work. Jay, we're just really glad your internet actually came back because
that was crazy. It literally like 7:55. I'm like, seriously, come on, Comcast.
And then StreamYard quit on me halfway through. I don't think it was my internet because nothing else seemed to be offline. It just kicked me off for a brief second.
We got it done. Thank goodness. We did get it done. A couple reminders: you can join us in the Discord group, theaverageguy.tv/Discord, in our Facebook group, theaverageguy.tv/Facebook. Both groups are very active if you want to get it done. We want to thank our Patreon subscribers as well for helping do what they do each month. It's the beginning of the month, and I just got the check. Well, it's not a check anymore, right? Nobody does checks anymore. My wife apparently still does checks. I just did the budget yesterday and she's still doing checks, but we appreciate you guys on Patreon. You help us kind of keep all these things running. And so we appreciate it. If you want to join us in the Patreon group, if you want to support the show, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon gets that done. We also want to thank Maple Grove Partners. They do secure, reliable, high-speed hosting for theaverageguy.tv. So both media and web hosting plans start as little as $10 a month. And it's Christian. He does it really, really well and very, very efficiently. And so head out to Maple Grove if you need anything, maplegrovepartners.com. We will be back next Thursday. Actually, Mike, I think you're out, right?
I'm out, sadly. I'm missing
Ryan, Bob, and me.
I know.
That's okay. More hardware. Jay, you'll have to maybe join us you may like that one because these guys do the big RGB massive fans,
disgusting,
cooling everything. You might want to come in and just talk some crap in this.
Oh, for sure.
Jim says, "Yeah, it's okay, Mike. You're gone. We don't really need you, by the way."
We'll be back next Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. Thank you for joining us tonight. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. Jay, thanks again we've kept you long enough. So
thank you for having me. It's always super fast. I can't believe how fast it goes. It's always super
I couldn't believe it. I looked down, I'm like, whoa, we have been live for an hour and a half. Crazy.
Yeah, it goes to, I was going to do this during the show, but I'll do it now. So Windows 7 officially
no longer.
You are gone.
I loved Windows 7. I really did. I mean, it's we should have a ceremony for it.
But did you do a launch party?
I didn't. I wasn't ready for that.
Let's see if anything's in the box. Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I still have a Windows 7 DVD around here somewhere.
Let's see if there's anything, because we got somebody said, wait, there's a Facebook group. Your PC simplified. Here's the instructions for the launch party. I think I still have these could be collector's items. The Zune passes.
Zune. Oh my
wow.
God. That's amazing.
Zune on Windows. Experience it free for 14 days.
That's amazing.
These little let's see, Norton. Of course, you can't run Windows without Norton.
Yeah.
Windows 7 is here. Let's get this party started. There are some
all right
handouts for that. I'm not
awesome.
Not sure if this was a part of it, but there's a Legos thing in here. I'm not sure what that's doing in here. There are free Kaspersky. There are coupons for free Kaspersky antivirus.
That was my antivirus of choice back in the Windows 7 days. So that was a good one. Norton
antivirus. Okay. Ooh, this is getting good. And then streamers.
Wait, they actually sent streamers in the box?
They did. They did. I got green. Microsoft Green, by the way.
You were an MVP back then, right?
No.
You would have been,
maybe.
You?
It'd have been the early years of it. It was 10 years ago, so it was 2010. No, I didn't become an MVP till 2011. Okay, so but wait. They gave me cards to give out to everybody that said thank you for coming to the party. How great is that?
That's awesome.
There were actually plates. There were paper plates in here. I remember this. There were paper plates, and it was and then on the front they say it's here, right? That green button. It's here. It says operating instructions. 1, open box. I'm not making this up. 1, open box. 2, add friends. 3, party till done.
I didn't know this was a thing.
Palmer wrote that himself.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well, true. Mike, you were like 7 years old when it's probably this was.
What year was that?
2010.
Oh no, I was a freshman in college.
Yeah, the old lunch party. But so Jay, you didn't do a lunch party, I take it.
No, I wasn't ready for that.
What were you doing 10 years ago?
10 years ago, I was drinking and talking to women. That's honestly what I was doing.
It's honest.
It's going to be a much less focused young tech everything back then. So just living life.
Yeah.
You know,
at what point did you say to yourself, I'm going to do a YouTube channel?
Seriously, I think so. It had been something I had been floating around because in my job before this, I was working basically as a web manager for a network of sites. And my boss at the time, he had one particular cooking blog that he was working on, making, pretty casual content, but getting a lot of views, a lot of traffic, making good money doing it, and also doing a little videos. I got him into that a little bit. So like making some just cooking videos, targeting things that people weren't really covering. And I said, I love tech. I can do the same thing. Why not? So I kind of just took that experience, and around, I guess, I'm trying to think how old I was, around 29-ish, I guess, when I started that, 28, 29-ish. And I had just broken up with my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend.
Oh, so you had plenty of time.
Yeah, I was like, clean the slate. I got time. Like, let's just jump into it, and that's what I did. So
that's
it was
cool.
like one of those kind of moments, either do it or don't. And I did it.
Did it grow pretty fast for you, or was it a kind of a you kind of have to grind it out for a while before? I mean, 50K is a good number. I mean, it's just not you just don't get there.
Yeah, it was, especially in the beginning, it was super slow. Particularly one, because the videos were so bad. Like if you go back and watch the first couple videos, I had no idea what I was doing, and I still don't. I'm still just making videos, but
it's good.
I'm at least at an acceptable level now. But in the beginning, it was just really rough. So it was slow, and I'm making niche content on top of that. Super niche content.
Yeah.
So it has been slow. But I'm super comfortable with that. I kind of prefer it that way. I can do what I want. I don't have to. I'm not beholden to anybody to make like large rig videos or water cool or do anything like that. People kind of expect what they expect. If they don't like it, they can watch another channel. So
yeah.
I like the slow growth.
It's a good place to be, and I don't think you generate so much content you can't keep up either.
Absolutely not. I have more content than I can generate. So like everything on my desk that we just talked about, I've covered maybe one of those things, the ELEX. I wrote an article for that. And so time for me is a concern.
Pesky day job, right?
Yeah.
It gets in the way.
One day, I don't know, maybe I'd quit and do YouTube full time, but I don't know if I want to do that.
No. Well, you're halfway to 100,000, right? And that's you get that YouTube thing when you get to 100.
Can't wait.
It's a big deal to some. They put it in there, all their posts and all the pictures and stuff. I work for a company doing this, and we're at 26,000 maybe now. And you'd think like with all the a name like Gallup, we should be able to get 100,000 easy. And
absolutely,
it's still some work, and we're a niche too because we're Strengths Finder or Clifton Strengths. So there's some work there to get it done. It's not easy, and you take it on the chin a lot from people just like, I don't like this, I don't like you, you're an idiot, and you can say you ignore that stuff, but it's all like when you read it, it's psychologically damaging. Right? You're like, I know it's not personal, and these guys are jackasses and trolls and all that other stuff, but it's I don't know about you, maybe you can do it, but I just don't want to read it. I gotta
I don't know. I guess I look at it the same way I look at my conversations with friends. So like I have some friends where it's just like we just like go at each other, just constantly making jokes and stuff. And that's kind of how I look at it.
Okay.
You know, I don't take it seriously, which maybe I should. Maybe that's not good. But.
No, I think otherwise, if you take it seriously, you end up saying you're the handyman and you get on for 3 minutes and say, "Don't show up on my property." You drop the F-bomb, and I mean, I was like, "Oh, this is handyman. This is
like I'm making free videos about things I like casual. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not. This isn't that serious. So if you're that fired up about it, sorry. You know what I mean?
But I know.
I'm just doing this for fun. You know, like
Right. Well, it's good. That's good that you take it that way. Tajowski reminded me there was a puzzle in that box, the Windows 7 launch party. There was a Windows puzzle. I think it was like a 50-piece puzzle. I remember this, and a Windows bag, which I still might have actually. I think my wife uses it as a shopping bag. And then there were some playing cards in there. I may have those. Now I have to go look. I may have those. You
got to keep that thing, man. That's like tech history in another 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Really? So it's been sitting. Okay. Can you see the dust?
Why not keep it
on the? Wow. Do you see that? It almost looks like it spells something.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this has been sitting up in the ceiling. There's some storage up there, and it's literally been sitting there for 9 years. Like I stuck it up there 9 years ago, and it hasn't moved since tonight. I was like, oh, wait a minute. We need to talk about the Windows 7 launch party as we think about repurposing this PC. So, Jay, we'll let you go. Thanks a ton, man. I appreciate it. Great having you on tonight.
Awesome, as always.
I'll ping you in the fall, and we'll have you back on to kind of catch up with you. So.
Sure. I'll be in the audience next week checking out the big PC.
Yeah, give Bob and Ryan a hard time being like, oh, big PCs suck.
But it's so big. I don't get it.
I take so much room. I don't like the lights. They're terrible. So thanks for jumping in, Jay. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
You have a good night. Yeah, you have a good night. Take care. All right, Mike. Live audience. Mike, can you hang tight for just one second? Live audience, thanks for coming out tonight. Jay's awesome guy. I love having that guy on here. So appreciate it. You guys in the chat room, great job tonight as well. Thanks for all the memories as well. And we'll see you guys again. Bob, it's just me. I'm gonna need some help next week. So Bob and Ryan will be back next week. And we'll have a lot more hardware to talk about. So we will see you guys next Thursday. Take care.